Now, for one South Korean native in La Crosse, Kim's death and the transition of power to his youngest son brings cautious hope to the future of North and South Korea. News 8's Pauline Lee is live in our studio with his story.
Mark, well, UW professor Dr. Kyung Yang grew up in South Korea. He was living in South Korea's capital when Kim Jong Il became North Korea's leader back in 1994. Having lived through one transfer of power, he says the South Korean people are cautiously optimistic of the new leader and the future between the two nations. Growing up in South Korea, UWL professor Dr. Kyung Yang can still remember the tension between his country and its neighbor to the north.
Always we had a threat of attack on North Korea because they have a more power and the economic situation was better. They always try to reunify by power. So we try to defend South Korea.
Because of the looming threats, students were required to have military training. In the late 70s, he served as a platoon leader stationed on the country's border protecting the South. He returned to South Korea after he finished his studies in the United States in 1992. 2 years later, North Korea experienced its first shift in power. It was a shift, he says, put South Korea on edge.
1994, when Kim Il-sung was dead, we were surprised and we really worried if the situation is changed, the balance is broken, then maybe they said that it's possible to have a war between the South and North.
Now, 17 years later, another shift has come. But this time around, Hyang says things are a little different.
These days, we know that nothing happened at that time, so we don't worry so much about the death of Kim Jong Il this time.
Kim Jong Il's youngest son, Kim Jong Un, will now lead North Korea into the future. Since Kim Jong Il had more than 2 decades to train for the position, North Koreans knew what they were getting. Not so with Kim Jong Un.
This time, Kim Jong Un is only 27 or 29 years old, and he has no experience and no power to control the government completely. So some dangerous thing can happen.
Hyang just hopes as Kim Jong-un takes the lead, the transition will be a smooth one.
As I guess, everybody wants the soft landing without any threat or turmoil.
Dr. Hyang also tells me he will be keeping a close eye on South Korea's presidential elections next year. He says if the party in power shifts in South Korea, it may mean some changes in the country's relationship with North Korea.
All right, thank you, Pauline. Today's funeral comes after more than a week of mourning, and like much of Kim's life, it had been shrouded in mystery.